Well, welcome back for another week, folks. It is Monday, May 24th. As you can see behind me, we have some weather. There's some snow in the hills up there. We did get about an inch of rain yesterday, but it pretty much took all day, so it's soaked in real nice. It's not super muddy. There's not big puddles on the ground. But with that snow that we got on Friday, Saturday, there has been some issues of frost, but I'm not really seeing any damage in the field. This canola here, for example, is pretty much looking fine. It's, you know, there's the odd flea beetle bite here and there, but even that is very minimal. No frost damage to speak of here. I am seeing a little bit of temperature bending in the barley, but overall that's fairly minor. And we're supposed to be getting more weather yet today. We're supposed to get some more rain at some point today. Okay, well, I'm out here taking a look at some barley, and there is some damage on some of these leaf tips here. So this is looking more like wind damage from last week's high winds than it is from frost. But that does give disease an ingress point, so you might want to consider putting a fungicide in with your herbicide if you're seeing a lot of scald or net blotch at that time. Well, here's some durum that is showing a bit of temperature stress. You can see the coloring on the stem on this guy here, and a couple more right here. So definitely some stress going on in this row here, especially over here where these ones are right kind of in the side of the row where they had to come through a little bit more soil, about an extra 3/4 of an inch, which left them a little bit more stress to begin with. And now you can really see the effect on those. Here's a sandier area on the edge of a pea field. This is right by the field entrance, and you can see we got some pretty substantial wind erosion here last week, and the peas really took a beating. So they got pretty much desiccated by that wind and the blowing sand, and then probably that allowed them to pick up a little bit of frost damage at the same time as well. So they're not looking so hot in this spot here. Well, here is some more wind erosion from last week. This is that sandy field that has been seeded into barley. You can see the barley is quite yellow colored. It is very heavily stressed right now. A lot of this sand blew again last week and caused erosion damage. You can see here where it's not quite so severe. You can see the barley is quite yellow and stressed. It actually has a temperature banding effect on it because that wind stress left it open to temperature stress on the weekend. It should recover given some good weather. It should be fine. It will be a little bit delayed, but it should be just fine. Well, here I'm back in some winter wheat, and you can see we do have a little bit of frost damage here. You can see the blackened leaf tips. Just because this is tall enough, it's up off that ground effect, so it didn't have the benefit of that warm soil from last week. So these leaf tips did frost a little bit. You can also see the weed control on the flicks weed is going pretty well. These have totally stopped growing. Growing points are yellowed out and they are going down. But this wheat should recover, no problems, as long as the heads are okay. Well, here is some nice looking barley that is rapidly approaching herbicide timing. We're pretty much coming up on that fourth leaf stage here now. You will see there is just a little spot of scald on that leaf there too. It might have been brought on by weather damage from last week, but overall looking pretty good. In this field here, we are going to be doing Axial Extreme plus PP2525 from the Precision Pack machine. So we're going to get some pretty good group 4 control in here for some of this kochia and goosefoot and dandelions and a few other of the weeds that are in here. Barley at this stage can be very easy to check for wireworm. When you see these yellow leaves like this in an area, it's usually a good indicator there's a wireworm. And if you pull this out of the ground, you're probably going to see it's been chewed off right down at the bottom. Sorry, I know this camera has really poor macro, but it has been chewed off down there. This one will probably be about the same. Yeah, chewed clean off right above the seed. So at this point now, this has been in the ground for a month, so the cruiser is pretty much worn off. So that is why you will often see an increase in feeding by wireworms at this time. Well, here's a spot in a pea field. This is a low area of the field, and you can see we do have a little bit of frost damage on here. So we do have some leaves that have been damaged, and it seems like it's worse in these areas with the high trash. Once you get out into the areas with less trash, it seems to be a little bit better. But basically, as long as the growing point is fine, which on this guy is right up in here, as long as that growing point is still green, which on this one it looks like it is, it's going to be fine. It's going to grow through it. It's just going to look a little ugly for a little while. Well, here's another good example of wireworm damage on barley. This one right here was fed under the soil surface but up above the seed. That main stem was severely weakened but not quite cut off, and it is already sending out new growth pretty much right off that growing point, which was down below that. So it's always kind of fun to see things like this. Here in the cornfield, there's a few corn plants that are showing evidence of being chewed off close to the ground level a few days ago. And when I start digging around the plant, sure enough, there is a little cutworm right beside this plant. So keep your eyes out for stuff like this. Well, after 2.5 inches of rain in this area, we are seeing good canola emergence. There's actually quite a few of these little guys coming up now. These were all just barely starting to germinate last week when I was here. So nice to see these guys starting to put out some of their first leaves already. And little to no sign of frost or flea beetle damage in this area. Well, here's some little baby corn that's just emerging out of the ground. You can see this one has a yellow tip, and that probably means it was right at the soil surface when we got those temperatures, and that has caused a little bit of injury to it, but really it's going to be pretty minor. That leaf is going to unfold here shortly, and you won't even hardly notice it. Other ones, like this guy right here beside it, are smaller. They were obviously under farther and were better insulated, and they look fine and healthy, and they'll be growing like crazy this week once we get warmer temperatures. And here's a couple of cool weeds I don't often get to show. This is plantain, common plantain. Seed head's not up on it yet, but it will be fairly soon. And best way to kill it is with a stout group 4. This is dock, or curled dock as it is sometimes better known, and it likes these low, wetter areas. It's a member of the buckwheat family, and yeah, anything group 2, 4 usually is pretty effective on it, when it's this small anyways. Well, the fall rye Colhurst is sure looking good this week. Do have a little tiny bit of frost and wind damage here and there, but overall very, very minor. Very little for sign of disease or mold in the lower canopy. And we're coming into the flag leaf stage here now. So you can see this one, flag leaf stage is out, starting to unroll. And you can feel the head right here in the boot. So that's looking pretty good here.
Hi, I'm Ray Westersund, Southwest Alberta Territory Manager for Nufarm Products. I'm here today to talk to you about a broadleaf herbicide by the name of Enforcer. Enforcer is a great option for this area. Enforcer has the benefits of mixing well with most graminicides. It's both group 4 and 6. It has no recropping restrictions. It's got a wide rate range. You can have a flexible rate to cater to your crop's needs. You can apply it between that 3 to flag leaf, and it's going to be suitable on a wide spectrum of weeds. It's really strong on lamb's quarters, on kochia, Russian thistle, and buckwheat, just to name a few. Enforcer M and D also have the packaging available in cases, drums, and totes to suit your needs. Talk to your local AgroPlus representative for more on Enforcer D today.
And here in the winter wheat by Picture Butte that I showed last week, you can see we do have some white mold is forming down here. Not a whole lot at this point, but it is something to keep an eye on. Well, there's certainly some very nice healthy earthworms out here after that rain. Right, boys? Nice healthy earthworms, right? Right, worms? Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.